Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Let's talk about your juicy love with me, Una Drake. We explore relationships, dating, sacred union, communication, conscious love, healthy boundaries, and much more. As a dating and relationship coach for over 5 years, with a background in shamanic healing and metaphysical work, I've helped men and women, young and old, from all walks of life. My mission is to increase peace, joy, and love on planet Earth. So listen in and stay juicy.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Pat. I am here with the amazing Una Drake. And today, for those of you out there, how do you stay juicy? How do you do it? How do we date in the 21st century and be able to do it in a way that we love it, we enjoy it, we know what we're doing, we know how to navigate the waters, and, all of the above. But most importantly, how do we have some fun to get it done? Now, joining me here today, the show you're listening to is all about your juicy love with Una Drake. Now, most importantly, you heard the introduction, so you have a taste of what Una does. But whether it's looking at relationships, boundaries, communication, conscious love, and more, this is the work that she has said yes to, so that healing is at the core of it and juiciness is the outcome. Una, it's great to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to talk about dating in the 21st century.
Oh, boy. We say that like, okay, people ask all the time, why do we even have to say that? Well, let's talk about what has changed in the past 10 years that has never existed ever before in the world of dating, because that's really what makes it the 21st century. I don't even have to go 10 years really is what we're looking at, where we saw a mega transformation in the landscape of dating, isn't it?
Yes, I'd say it's a little bit longer than that.
A little bit, okay.
I think it's been changing for several decades, but it's really certainly like online dating in the general landscape has definitely gotten very different in the last 10 to 20 years, for sure. But there's been some societal shifts that have really been going on for decades that have impacted the amount of choice that we have, that anybody in our society has today as far as what kind of relationship they want. And they're able to have so much more say in what they want, that our expectations, honestly, today are a lot higher for what we're looking for in a relationship versus what people were looking for even 50 years ago, definitely more than, say, 100 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that is a really cool point. We're going to talk about that today. Also, though, we're talking about the logistics.
Yeah.
And the logistics. Now, I got to tell you, when I first started to do this 14 years ago, there were not smartphones. As a matter of fact, Al Gore pretty much was just inventing the internet. Okay. So I've seen the change in what we call radio, which is not even called radio anymore, Una. It's called like podcasting. We don't even want to say the word radio. I don't even understand that. But right. It's the how now that's changed. How to get a date. How to get a date could be an entire reality television show. But that's the beginning, kind of, right?
Yeah, it really is. And we can talk about that. The first question that a lot of people have, if they're single and they realize, hey, I don't want to be single anymore. I want to be in a relationship, or I want to, explore a partnership in my life. the first question for most people is, how do I get a date? Because for most of us, some people do have people basically knocking down their door trying to get a date with them. But for most of us, for most people, that's not their reality. If they want to date someone, it's a process to look for someone appropriate to date and, to look for a good partner. And for most people, they think about meeting someone in real life. And honestly, that can work pretty well for younger people, people in obviously high school or, college even. But as you get to your mid-20s, later 20s and above, when you're mostly at a job, just with the same set of people or the same set of circumstances, most of the time, day in, day out, it can be harder to meet people in person. Now, if you are the type of person that you meet a lot of different people in your day-to-day life, then it can work. Or if you really put in a lot of effort to, seek out opportunities to meet appropriate people in, in face-to-face circumstances, that can be great. And certainly, our grandparents, most of our parents, even a lot of, I'd say a lot of people today, it's still more common to meet a spouse in person than it is through online. But definitely meeting an appropriate partner through face-to-face, like in real life circumstances, gets harder as you get older. So a lot of people that I work with are like they're in their mid-30s and above. And it's just a different ballgame than it is for younger people, and it's a different ballgame than it was, say, even a decade or two or more ago.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what I'm finding in this, and I'm so glad you brought it up. If you go back in time a little bit, and I'm trying to think, maybe it was the 70s, but the population of dating people was different. And here's why. When you go back in time, people were not readily getting divorced. So let's just talk about that for a second. The statistics about divorce didn't really start to kick it up, I think, till the 70s. And so what did that mean? That meant that people stayed together like a really long time, right? Like some of our grandparents and some of that. And then things changed. And so here we are now, where we have a demographic of people that are very, very young and looking for dates, and people on the other end of the spectrum. So now what we have is a wider range of people saying, I'd like to date, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And yes, a much wider range. There's many, many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s and 70s who are looking for love and deserve love and are finding love when they're going about it in the right way. Definitely I've helped people into their 60s. So it's definitely possible, but yes, it is different. It feels different. I think a lot of people who, maybe got married when in their 20s and thought that they would be married the rest of their life, but then find themselves suddenly single in their 30s, 40s, or et cetera, and then aren't sure what to do. But it is becoming, it's very common now for people to be in that situation. And there's a lot of other people in the same boat. But like we were talking about, today, I think people have higher expectations for a long-term partnership, and they certainly have more choice about what kind of partnership they want to be in. And so, divorce is more common, but people aren't willing. I think there's less willingness for people to stay in relationships that don't work, which is a good thing, but it's also, it means that there's more choice out there. And I think it's ultimately a good thing, although it does mean that you're going to have more divorce. I mean, you're going to have people realizing, hey, this doesn't work for me, or what does work? What do I actually want? Which I think are great questions to ask. But you need to deal with the flip side of the coin, which is, some relationships that don't work are going to break up. So
but now we're in a whole different genre. Where, and you touched upon this before, and we're going to talk about it more in the next segment. but we went from what my grand folks would call courting to online dating. And so now you fill out a profile, and I got a friend that does this, and she never tells her age. I don't really understand that, but now we have to really hone in on some very specifics. Isn't that also a way the landscape of dating has changed?
You mean you need to know really what you're looking for?
Yeah. Or even how to describe yourself. And we're going to talk more about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to talk about that. But yeah. And I just want to go into a little bit more about why is it different when you're older? And, because a lot of people still, they are kind of ooked out by the idea of online dating. And, but you really think about it. I mean, it works for people who are in school, like in college, or high school, surrounded by, other singles of a similar age, background, and life situation. And the thing is as we get older, as we're in, workplaces or, communities that have, people from many, many different, backgrounds and, ages and, that kind of thing. You do need to know exactly what you're looking for, and online dating allows you to have access to, to exactly who you're trying to target, in a sense, the good matches for you So you were asking about, there are definitely some risks that go along with online dating, and but there's. Most people just think about the risks, but really there are so many ways to get beyond those risks.
Okay. Good.
So
why don't we do this? Why don't we take a short break? And when we come back, I want to make sure that you have a full platform to walk through this. The notion of risk and reward. Has it really changed all that much from previous patterns? And what is it that Una can help you with, so that you minimize all of the above? Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back. Una Drake, Juicy Love. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Are you looking for the perfect setting for your next workshop or retreat? At Spirit Fire Meditative Retreat Center, cultivating consciousness is what we do best. Our guests count on us to create an atmosphere that supports serenity and well-being. We lead from the heart and create space for the mind. Freshly prepared meals designed with local and organic ingredients, 95 acres of beautiful woods and pastures, and a facility built with green in mind. This is what you'll find at Spirit Fire. For more information, visit spiritfireretreatcenter.com.
Stay juicy. Tune in to Your Juicy Love with me, Una Drake, co-hosting monthly with Dr. Pat, and every second Monday at 12 p.m. on Transformation Talk Radio. My show, Your Juicy Love, helps you find the dynamic, life-affirming love you've always wanted. Transform your relationships and bring peace, joy, and juicy, juicy love to planet Earth. For more information, visit unadrake.com.
Tune in to Mainstream Metaphysics Radio to harness your connection with the universe to effect change for optimal success and happiness. Named one of the country's top psychics, Eve now brings her insights and gifts to this weekly hit call-in show, joined by visionaries, leaders, and gifted others, but mostly you. Jot it down. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Best-selling author, spiritual life, and business coach Joe Nunziata brings his higher energy and no-nonsense style to people who are ready to make powerful changes now. Wake up, step up, power up with a shot of Joe. Join Joe the second and fourth Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern for 30 minutes of high energy, no nonsense, and powerful tools to make powerful changes. Visit joenuns.com. That's JOENUNZ.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're talking about love and we're taking your questions. 1-800-930-2819. I've got a question for Una. Una, what's the best way for people to find out more about you and also about your programs?
Definitely go to my website, unadrake.com. That's UNADRAKE.com. And you can read all about me and shoot me a message through there. Or you can click on the Talk to Una button and schedule a free appointment with me. I'd love to talk with you. And I'd love to help you strategize anything that you're dealing with in your dating or love life.
Yeah, and especially what we're getting ready to talk about now. You hear different sides of the coin. Depends on who you talk to. But there are pros and cons of online dating. And you're going to take us through what some of those are, right? Let's start with the risks first. Let's start with the cons, because a lot of people like to start with that first. So is it any more risky than it was not too long ago, the generation of let me meet you in the bar? Let's talk about the risks for a minute.
Sure. I don't believe that it's intrinsically any more risky at all than, say, meeting a random person in a bar. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think online dating can be less risky than that, because really, if you just meet a random person at a bar, you don't know who they are. You don't know what their background is. You really don't know much about them at all, except that they're there. And presumably they like to drink, as do you. So, which is fine. That's great. But, if you're meeting them online, especially if it's a site where like OkCupid or Match.com, a site where you get a lot of the sites, you know a fair amount about the person because there's like detailed profiles that they filled out. Now, certainly people can lie in their profile, but people can also lie in real life. They can lie to your face. Yeah. They can present themselves differently from what they really are. And, so a lot of people do think about physical safety as a risk of online dating. And certainly we've all heard horror stories about, someone getting murdered or attacked or hurt by someone that they met online. But let's think about it for real. People do get attacked by people that they know in real life or that they meet in real life all the time. In fact, I think the incidence of, people getting hurt is much higher by people that, like family members, things like that. That happens all the time. It's not just because you met them online or you met them through an online dating site. If you're not, you need to be smart, obviously, and, do some basic things to protect your physical safety, but that's just common sense. I say always meet someone in a public location first and, suss out, and if you don't get a completely good vibe from them, then but you still are intrigued, maybe meet them in a public location for the first several times, but I would never recommend going to someone's home or like a private environment where you're not going to have that kind of safety of other people around you, or where that you can, call for help if you need to. If you've never met them in person before, I would never recommend that in any situation, Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, we wouldn't recommend it. So, it's kind of like, why would we do things in online dating that we wouldn't do if we weren't doing online dating, right? So some of this is common sense, but at some level, there are so many nuances with online dating, and that's where you come in, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I have a lot of tips and ways of working with people so that they can get good results, and so they don't put themselves as much risk as they might otherwise. Certainly for physical safety, you always want to meet someone in a public location first. But then you think about other risks of online dating, and that is like, say, getting catfished, or, being, say, propositioned, or, getting into at least an online relationship, however brief, with someone who is disingenuous, where they're lying about some aspect of who they are or what their intentions are. And people do lie about all sorts of things. They lie about their age, they lie about their weight, their height, their marital status, lots of different things. I mean, but people do lie about some of those things in real life too. So, I mean, just because you meet someone at a bar and they don't have a wedding ring on doesn't mean that they're not married, for example.
Right.
And, now certainly in person, if you're meeting someone in person, it's harder for them to lie about their height or, their weight. But again, what I counsel people to do is if you meet someone that you're intrigued with online, meet them in person as soon as possible for at least what I call a mini date. And that's just like a short date. It can be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. And it just is like over coffee or maybe just a drink, but it's not a full dinner. It's not a movie. It's not going to a show. It's not something that takes a lot of time. It's just a short situation where you get to meet them in person, actually see them. And then basically what you're doing is you're assessing if there's any chemistry, and more importantly, are they who they say they are?
Right.
Have they represented themselves accurately? And is this someone that I want a second date with? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And what it does is it allows us to really understand, one, about the boundaries in our lives, and number two, that we get to have a conversation. I mean, one of the things we love to do here in the Pacific Northwest is go for coffee. And it's really a ritual. And it is so in ways that it's not the same thing in other parts of the country, right? So it really does allow for people to get to know each other, but also knowing what kinds of questions to ask people. Isn't that important too? Isn't that part of knowing how to even be at this on this first date?
Yes, to a certain extent, although I don't recommend making it into like an interview, because you want to allow for natural interaction and, just really see what that chemistry is with the other person. So what I counsel people to do is to try to be as present as possible. And what I call in your own body, like having your energy in your own body. And I know this is getting a little bit esoteric, but I think it's okay for this audience. You want to, a lot of people, when they, especially on a first date, they find it to be a stressful situation. And so a lot of times in any stressful situation, a lot of people have a tendency for their energy to go out of their body, and they're really like in their head, or they're intellectualizing it. They're not in touch with their body sensations and their like gut reaction in a situation, in a given situation, that whatever it is, if it's an job interview or a first date, or any kind of situation in our life, from a shamanic, I'm pulling this a lot from my shamanic background, which is, in a stressful situation, kind of your spirit will tend to kind of leave your body energetically. Yeah. But you want to bring that energy, bring your spirit into your body as much as possible, because that's going to give you so many more layers of information and knowing in your interaction with this other person. Your body is psychic. Your body knows, like, you are psychic, whether you know it or not, and you will be picking up information about this other person and about how you are responding to them. And the more aware that you can be of that in the moment when you're with the other person, the more that you'll get many, many layers of information from that initial interaction. And it could be as much as, I feel safe with this other person,
Yeah.
or I'm getting a stomach ache as I'm sitting here and I don't know why, or I'm getting a tension headache and I don't know why, but I'm noticing that I'm getting a tension headache, or I feel like I want to leave. It could be as simple as that. It's not like you don't necessarily need to understand every aspect of what's going on, but you're noticing and you're being fully present in your body. You're noticing your body. And honestly, I feel that that's the most respectful way to be with another person, is to try to be as present as possible. Try to be with them in the situation. So you're not thinking about all the other things that you have going on in your life. You're as much as possible present with them, and you're giving them your attention. You're giving them and the interaction between the two of you your full attention for that time that you have together. And I feel that even if you ultimately decide that it's not a connection that you want to pursue, you've given them your attention. That's a gift in and of itself, and that you're giving them and any potential chance, the best chance that it has, in that moment. Yeah. It's a gift of attention. So I guess that digresses a little bit. I know we were going to get into the pros of online dating, the rewards, as to counteract the risks.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from break.
Sure.
Because there are some pros. I mean, part of this too is also looking at how much information is available to you before you even meet a person. And, we don't talk about that enough. Where we have at our fingertips almost so much information now, and technology helps this along the way. When we come back, we're going to talk about the pros, we're going to talk about the rewards, and we're going to talk about what are we really looking for in all of this. Are we looking for life, happy, love forever after, or are we just looking for a date? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Curious about the meaning of life? Do you want to deepen your spiritual practice? The School for Esoteric Studies offers online training to spiritual seekers from all paths of life and individual coaching. Our courses synthesize Eastern and Western spiritual traditions based on meditation, study, and service applied to everyday life. The school also organizes group meditations each year to benefit humanity. Whether you're just beginning to reflect on the spiritual side of your life or are a more experienced spiritual seeker, the school warmly welcomes you to join our group. To learn more about our courses and services, please visit esotericstudies.net. That's esotericstudies.net.
Chances are you've been on your conscious journey for many years, and you've learned a lot about manifesting a wonderful life. But if you are like many others on their spiritual paths, you may still have some area of your life where you're feeling stuck. Perhaps you've read many books, attended lots of workshops, listened to many programs, and done plenty of inner work, and yet there is still something you'd like to change. With all the information out there, it may be hard to see the forest for the trees. Do you want to get a bird's eye view of that forest so you are empowered to navigate more effectively? Do you want to know the key to positive change and develop a personalized strategy for creating the changes you desire? Please join me, Christine Upchurch, for a 4-week webinar series beginning January 9th. Start your new year right and embrace the vibration of change. For more information, visit ChristineUpchurch.com. That's ChristineUpchurch.com or call 425-999-9836.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit jenroyster.com for more information.
Stay juicy. Tune in to Your Juicy Love with me, Una Drake, co-hosting monthly with Dr. Pat, and every second Monday at 12 p.m. on Transformation Talk Radio. My show, Your Juicy Love, helps you find the dynamic, life-affirming love you've always wanted. Transform your relationships and bring peace, joy, and juicy, juicy love to planet Earth. For more information, visit unadrake.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to, you know what? Your Juicy Love with Una Drake, and I'm Dr. Pat, and we get to team up each month as we take you on a journey of discovery. You know, today we're talking about dating in the 21st century. You know, we've already talked about how to get a date, and we've talked about the cons of online dating. But right now, what we're going to talk about are what are some of the pros? What's so attractive about it? And how do you find the person that's right for what you're looking for? Whether it be a commitment, whether it's just casual dating or monogamy or none of the above. But first off, you know, Una, how can people find out more about you? How can they work with you?
Sure. Yeah. They can visit my website, unadrake.com, unadrake.com. And you can read all about me there and contact me through the site or set up a session by clicking on the Talk to Una button. So I'd love to talk with you and just reach out to me through my site. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. We didn't get a chance to talk about like what the real attraction is with online dating. And I know you got a story to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to use as an example, a client I'll call Trevor. That's not his real name because I'm, just protecting his privacy. But this was a client who he worked for Microsoft. He was a young man, good looking, fit, in his 30s, prime of his life. He made good money, worked at Microsoft, but in his, he was hardworking, and in his day-to-day life, he didn't meet a lot of new people. And he did really want some pretty specific things. He was really into kind of geek culture, and he wanted a woman who would really appreciate that. And, he was also interested in a partner who was at least open to like polyamory. He wasn't sure that he necessarily wanted to pursue that completely himself, but he wanted a partner who was at least open to it. And, and he had some pretty unique perspectives on kind of life and, his outlook, and he wanted a woman, and he was also really smart and really, really well read. And he wanted a woman who would just appreciate those things about him. And those are not qualities that he was going to find in his, definitely not in his everyday life, because he didn't meet a lot of new people. And, it's just definitely not things that he was going to find just going to an average singles event. And so I helped him, and I helped him put together a profile that really highlighted the best of who he was and really put himself forward. Even his kind of, he had a very, again, corporate job, he mostly presented as pretty conventional on the outside, but he had kind of like a rebellious kind of rocker guy, underneath. And so I helped him highlight both of those sides of himself and really hone his profile and his searches online to look for that right person, the person who was a really good match for him. And he was able to find, someone that he went on to date for, I lost contact with him, but he met a partner within like 3 or 4 months. And, so that was definitely a success story for him. He had been looking for, I think, over a year at the time that we started working together, and it just, so online dating really allowed him to find the real right person, find good matches. And then, of course, someone that he ended up dating long term, but, in being really, really specific, someone who really did appreciate his geek side, who was really intelligent and really appreciated, both the kind of, studious and more, the fact that he could hold down a good job in a corporate environment, but also had these other aspects to him that, really rounded him out as a complete human being, but, he wanted someone who really could appreciate all the sides of who he was and was actually open to polyamory as well, which is not something that you find all the time. And so, that was definitely, I'd say, an online success story. Another client of mine was in his 60s. He was a widower, actually, who had put a lot of time into raising his sons. And, in his mid 60s, he realized, I want to get married, and I want to take the time to find someone for me. But, he was working actually a couple of different jobs at the time. And, again, didn't meet a lot of new people, definitely not a lot of new people that met what he was looking for. So I got him online, we got him set up. And honestly, with him, within 30 minutes of getting his revised profile with, photos and stuff live, he was getting hit up by women. Awesome women who were like, ooh, Harvey, let's talk, And in his case, he's okay with me using his name. But, and he found the woman that he later married within, again, about 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
And, and, and he was looking for some pretty specific things that he wanted. And he went through a lot of screening because he was a very popular guy and he got a lot of great attention online and which was fabulous. It was a real, I know that it really bolstered his confidence because, he had been putting so much of himself into just raising his sons and being a really devoted father. And it was a real, it was a different experience for him to be really desired and pursued, honestly, by women. Yeah. And that was great for him. And, and he was able to find the woman that he married. So, that's just another example. I think there is something about creating an online profile that does create an energetic shift. Yeah. Because just in putting yourself out there in a public way, you're I call it like kind of turning on your taxi light, so to speak. You're saying, hey, I'm available. And it opens you up energetically. I mean, obviously, it's also true. I mean, in a real sense, other people who are looking can find your profile, and contact you online, but it also for a lot of clients report an energetic shift as well. And they report that they're getting more attention even just in their regular life than they did before, because somehow energetically they've publicly put themselves out there as being truly available and, wanting a relationship, which I think makes a huge difference.
It makes a gigantic difference because it plays right into the law of attraction.
Yes.
If, I had a coach once say to me, it's hard for you to win at the game if you're not in it. And energetically, that's so true. Because, success also taps into energy. And part of this is also, Una, isn't it knowing what you're in the game to do? And the question I'm asking is, do I know, am I in here to look for a long-lasting relationship? Am I in here just to date? Do we have to know that at the onset? Is that important to know that?
I think it is actually pretty important to know, although, of course, you can always change your mind. Mm-hmm. But, I talked about, my client who was looking for a long-term, most of my clients honestly are looking for long-term, committed relationships. But some, I'll talk about another client I had, I'll call him Jay. We first started working together when he was about 30. He was just approaching his 30th birthday, and it had been a long time since he had a girlfriend, and he was just not having a lot of luck with women. He hadn't had a lot of dating experience, but he knew that he ideally wanted a long-term relationship, but really his first priority was just getting more experience with, dating and finding out what he actually liked. And so, after we first, started working together, got his profile set up and, optimized, he started getting dates, through my system. He started going on, say, 2 to 3 dates a week within the first month or so. But then he realized that he needed to revise it. And because he's starting to date a lot and get a lot of attention, which was great and definitely a different experience than what he had used to. But then he realized, hey, I guess I got to be more picky, which is a fabulous problem to have. And so I helped him. I helped him kind of, modify his profile a bit so that he could, he could hone in more on, well, honestly, for him, he's a really, really smart guy, very high IQ. And, at first we had his profile set up just to attract a wider range of women. And what he realized is that he was going on these dates, but the conversations that he was having weren't interesting to him. He wasn't meeting women who were smart enough. And so I helped him just do some tweaks.
And I think the tweaks you're talking about are super important, because if we're not really good at talking about ourselves. Let's take a short break. When we come back, Una's going to take us on a journey of the growth process of dating. And yes, believe me, I can tell you up close and personal, it is a growth process. But what happens when we are triggered? How do we overcome that? How can we step into full confidence of who we are? And by the way, what do we do to move beyond all of the no's and stand in our yes? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Talking in my sleep at night, making myself crazy. Out of my mind, wrote it down and read it.
Hi, this is Laura Richer, host of On the Verge Radio. Sometimes you hear encouraging messages like transform your life now, become empowered, create the life you crave, and it all seems overwhelming and you're not sure where to start. I'm here to tell you that self-improvement is not always fun and easy, but it is always worth it. The path to creating positive changes begins with releasing the things that have been holding you back. Then you can create a life that inspires you. I know this because I've done it. You can find out more about what I do by visiting my website, seattlehealinghypnosis.com. I look forward to supporting you on your journey.
The Truth is Funny. Shift Happens with Colette Marie Steffen is excited to welcome Karen Benton as a monthly guest host. Tune in on the third Wednesday of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific Time to regain confidence and trust in your capacity to create change in your life, your health, your family, and your well-being. Karen Benton is a mother, nurse practitioner, certified body talk practitioner, Franklin Method instructor, and owner of Limitless Living LLC. For more information about Karen, visit KarenBenton.com.
Hey, did you know why they call the foundation the foundation? It's called the foundation because it completely eliminates your foundation for what you thought your reality was and creates a whole new space where you can have an entirely new reality that is foundationless. So from my point of view, they should call it the unfoundation or the foundationlessness. Either way, there's a big new global rewrite happening again because these guys cannot stop changing. There should be like a Change Anonymous that Gary and Dane go to. And it's happening April 28th to May 1st. You can find out about it at accessconsciousness.com/global foundation. It's happening in Paris. Go to Paris or do it online or find a pod near you. These are all the options you have. And what else is possible?
To see your life from an angel's perspective, book a personal consultation with Claire Candy Huff, angelic walk-in angel Ariel at Angel Healing House. Candy provides intuitive counseling, Reiki, and angel readings in person in Los Angeles or nationally and internationally via phone or Skype. She will channel the practical tools you need to transform your life. Call now
831-277-3716 or visit angelhealinghouse.com.
Are you searching? Looking for a sign? A message you need to hear? From the great unknown? From the most mysterious place that is the most familiar to your soul in the depths of who you are? The universe put someone here to talk to, someone God gave a blessing to, that you may find insight with. TheAngelLady.net. 1-800-323-1790.
He makes it feel like nobody else, nobody else. But my love, he doesn't love me, so I tell myself, one, don't pick up the phone, you know he's only calling because he's drunk and alone.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're here with Una Drake, and we're talking about juicy love. Today, we're talking about, the world of dating, getting back in the game. And Una works with people all over the world. You can go to unadrake.com and find out how to create your own juicy love. We've covered so much here today. One of the things that you touched upon before we went to break was how the dating process is an enormous point of growth, personal growth for us. And so, we got to hear certain results that people can have. But what happens, Una, when it comes to fears, facing our fears, being aware of ourselves, and the dreaded, now I've got a hot button, better known as a trigger. These are all part of it, right?
Yeah, it really is. And, guaranteed your buttons are going to get pushed in the dating process. That's just part of it, So it's not a comfortable process, but it is a process that will cause you to grow and will give you many, many opportunities to look at yourself and look at your reactions. And if you're willing to look at it consciously, then you can grow through that process. And I think there's nothing like it. There's nothing like dating and, dating multiple people, or, when you get to that relationship that you really want to take further, you're going to continue to have issues, or you're going to continue to have things that come up. That's just part of it. If you're not having that, then it's dead, in to be juicy. Juicy is fabulous. It's great. There's so many upsides to it. And ideally you're growing in a really positive sense, and you're having good, pleasurable, awesome growth experiences. Mm-hmm. But truthfully, some growth will happen because we're triggered a little bit, or we're challenged. And then we're challenged to say, hey, what's going on? And why am I feeling this way? And, maybe or maybe not, you want to take things further with the person who triggered you. I'm not, definitely you need to evaluate that. But by looking at, for example, here's just something from my own dating experience way back in the day. I went on this date with somebody who had written me a really long letter saying, online, saying, oh my gosh, your profile's great. You seem wonderful, blah, 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 blah. He looked okay. So we met up for tea. And then I found myself really responding poorly to him. And all these negative thoughts came into my head, and I had all these judgments about him. And then I heard myself telling the story about my family in a way that I could tell, or just my family, or just aspects from my past in ways that I could tell like he was judging me. And that was making me feel like, what? You're judging me, but I'm judging you. And it was just, I left that date thinking, what went wrong? Yeah. And then also, really realizing that, wow, some issues that I thought I had handled are not so handled, and what does that say? And what, well, okay, so I guess I need to do some more healing work here,
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are some things that I don't know if I'm going to even get over them in this lifetime, because, some things matter and some things don't. And one of the things for sure, I remember doing some online dating a number of years ago and sitting across the table with someone and they're slurping their coffee. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be like out of my mind right here. And I remember thinking about it. And in a nanosecond, I could see a picture of my dad. Right. I'm like, okay, this person doesn't even look like my dad. But anyway, I could see my dad because my dad every Saturday morning, he would do this kind of slurping with his coffee just to kind of annoy us. Right. That was my dad. He was like this big, like, I'm going to tease you about something and make you annoyed. Now, I now know that, that was super annoying to me. I don't really understand what the whole slurping thing was. But what I realized is that my mom, if we were to do that at dinner, because we all mimic our, sometimes our loved parents, right? So all of us start to slurp, and my mom would go out of her mind about it. So here I'm on this little date, and it's like the slurping date.
Right.
It's like the slurping date. And I think I ended up saying, honestly, do you really drink your coffee like that all the time? Or are you just trying to, make this so that I never speak to you again? I think I said something like that.
Right.
And we both laughed about it. And the person was like, oh my gosh, was I doing that? I'm really trying to stop that. And we laughed about it. But it doesn't have to be a big trigger, right? It could be something like you're slurping your coffee, okay? Now, for me, I got a huge level of awareness about that. Like, okay, this is not my dad, all right? But sometimes it's not that simple, is it?
No. Sometimes it's maybe bigger. It may be that it could be almost anything. I mean, for some people, I'm thinking of like, a friendly, like a touch on the shoulder or something like that. For one person could seem friendly. For another person, it could seem, maybe like an overstep, and that's something to pay attention to, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of what is coming up and what's, that's part of like noticing, being aware, being conscious of during the process.
Well, the thing that I'm really clear about, and I think you made it really clear about what you help people with, is that, when you engage in dating these days, online dating especially, you really want to get somebody to help you along the way because you don't even know the potholes you're going to step into, right? There is so much you talked about today, and we really just brushed on the surface of a lot of it. I want to make sure folks know how they can work with you, and also what's your personal message? What do you want to leave us with today, Una? Thank you for taking this on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, people can reach me at unadrake.com. And I just want to, highlight again, kind of recapping, dating and finding a mate in the 21st century, it may seem strange and complicated, but that's really because today we have so much more freedom and choice than any of our ancestors ever did. And that's huge. And that's a huge opportunity for us today, but it's also a huge responsibility. And so the more consciousness that we can bring to the process, the better, because then we can take advantage of this amazing choice that we have and amazing tools that we have available. So I'd love to help you with that. Just contact me through my website, unadrake.com.
I love it. Una, thank you. Thank you so very much today. And thank you for your powerful message. Thank you for bringing the juice back into love again. And we're going to be talking about some pretty, contemporary things in the months to move forward. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I've really enjoyed this conversation today. And, definitely juicy topics to come, like ethical non-monogamy. We can talk about healthy boundaries. So much. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, those are juicy, folks. Thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. For more about me, you can find out more about me at thedrpatshow.com or transformationtalkradio.com. And if you're contemplating, I think I might want to put my little toes in the pond, give Una a call. Thank you guys so much. Another hour coming up on Transformation Talk Radio.
You've been listening to Your Juicy Love with me, Una Drake. Tune in each month as Dr. Pat and I co-host together, creating juicy conversations, and every second Monday at 12 p.m. on Transformation Talk Radio. I interview amazing guests, and you'll learn how to transform your relationships so you can stay juicy. To learn more about me or to listen to past shows, visit my website at unadrake.com.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.